Welcome to the OLIABO team Zoom. I'm really looking forward to this one. I'm excited about what we're seeing. I've never worked with something that is this potent over the long haul that actually brings sustenance in such a way that it builds the foundation, what we truly need in health and wellness. And I saw clinically lots of issues even back in the 70s and 80s, and we saw things beginning to happen, and it was tied back to the gut. The gut was the doorway, affecting the liver, affecting immunity, affecting the brain, affecting the cardiovascular system. The disease state was elicited, but the doorway was the gut. And then in the 90s, it got worse, rapidly worse. And since the 90s, we've seen a lot of things escalate. Type 2 diabetes has escalated. Certain aspects of cardiovascular disease have escalated. In fact, strokes are shockingly surging, and cardiovascular disease remains the number one killer. Cancer still claims lots of people every year. Cardiovascular disease, 1 million people a year in the US. Cancer, over 600,000 people a year in the US. And the doorway to much of this is through the gut, affecting the liver, which affects the blood, which affects the immune system, which affects all the other systems in the body. And we have a serious problem in health and wellness care. Well, I'll call it health care, because I can't really call it wellness care, because it doesn't take the time or spend the money to develop wellness. It's dealing with symptoms. It's dealing with diagnosis. And once a diagnosis is found, which mainstream medicine is pretty good at getting a diagnosis, but once it's found, then you're kind of locked into the standard of care. And unfortunately, the standard of care is dictated to doctors pretty strictly. They have difficulty stepping outside of the standard of care, which is dictated to them by for-profit industry, basically pharma. And if they don't follow standard of care, then they could be liable. So doctors don't like to step outside of that. It's risky. And you can't blame them, because the liability suits, can ruin your career, take your license, take all your money, kill your practice. It's not a great thing. But we spend $5 trillion in the US alone on healthcare. And to put that in perspective, if you could count to 1 trillion and do it basically every second, count to 1 trillion, you couldn't. It would take you 32,000 years. So there's no way that you could count to 1 trillion. And to put that in perspective, if you were able to spend $1 million an hour, $1 million an hour, the average lifespan is about 600,000 hours. So if you could spend $1 million an hour, you would be able to spend $600 billion, not even 2/3 of the way to $1 trillion. And that's spending $1 million an hour. So imagine the amount of waste that happens if you're spending $5 trillion a year. And I just looked it up today. According to the World Bank data, we rank in the United States, we rank 49th. 49th. I've been saying 28th in life expectancy on the world stage. Dr. Miller last week was saying 15th. But I thought that was a little generous, so I looked it up today. It's actually 49th. Up to 19, back in the 1920s, we ranked about eighth place on the world stage. But by 2020, we were at 46th. And now by 2025, it's 49th. We're going seriously backwards. And yet we spend way more money on healthcare than anyone else, anywhere else in the world, by exponential amounts. So to me, that speaks volumes, but to me, that means we're following the wrong paradigm. We're not actually looking for root cause. We're looking to manage symptoms that already exist. We're looking to manage disease that already exists. And yes, many drugs are able to do that. They're able to control the symptomatology. They're able to keep people kind of sedated or in that suspended state where you feel a little better, but you're not well because that root cause is still happening. And one of the huge issues is we've subspecialized into about 100 different subspecialties medically. And so doctors get really, really good at their particular subspecialty, whether it's like GI tract or osteo or neurology or endocrinology, so they're really good at that. And they can really come up with great diagnoses. But root cause doesn't work that way. We're connected. All of the organ systems are connected and work together. We are an integral part of nature. And we actually are a part of that entire ecosystem. And to understand wellness, you have to understand where you are in that ecosystem. And that includes all of the different systems of our body that work together to help bring about balance, that help to bring about homeostasis. And so fortunately, we have these places called blue zones. And in the blue zones, people live consistently to 100 and beyond. But the amazing thing is, and Dr. Miller coined the term, and I loved it, their lifespan is not only long, but their health span is long, meaning they're able to do all the things that you can do in good health through that entire span of your life. And isn't that really what we want? We want a life where we can actually function and we can actually be who we are and be in control of our destiny and kind of be well and feel good about being here, instead of at some point begin to struggle. And I heard terrifying reports lately of people younger and younger, like people even in their 60s and 70s, that are going into these care homes where they can't care for themselves anymore. And that's just devastating to think of that we've come to that place where our health span is shrinking so radically that we can no longer care for ourselves even in our 60s and 70s. And that's dire, quite dire. One of the things, what caused all of this? And if I look back in the late 80s, there was a report about saturated fats causing cardiovascular disease. And so a lot of marketers jumped all over that. And later we found out that was a flawed study. They'd actually had these paid people that were paid to do the study to tweak the results so that it came out really bad regarding saturated fats. So marketers jumped all over it and started creating these no fat, low fat, and fake fat, which is even worse, the hydrogenated oils. So it began showing up in very commercial. A lot of the processed food had these fake fats and vegetable oils that were hydrogenated, etc. All of these things were toxic to the gut and liver. And so we literally ended up poisoning ourselves. And those hydrogenated oils or those vegetable oils, when you heat them, I was just looking at this, they form all kinds of toxic ingredients. They form acrolein, and all these different aldehydes and other things, which are carcinogenic and mutagenic, affect DNA and cause all kinds of oxidative reactions in the body. So basically they cause inflammation and they cause disease. And we were promoting these things as heart healthy. I remember as a child, my ranching, we had dairy cows, my grandparents, and they had oleomargarine, past the ole, because they were told that it was heart healthy to get the fake stuff. But it couldn't be further from the truth. It actually harmed them. It didn't help them. All because companies wanted to make money, and they made billions of dollars. Then the fake sugar, the false sugar was also a huge issue. So on and on and on. But another thing that began happening, in 1943, there was a miracle. Penicillin was discovered, and it was approved for use in 1943, kind of during World War II. And so it saved a lot of lives because, on the battlefield, you get injured and you can use penicillin and prevent the infection. So there are those times that antibiotics are very necessary. But what happened was it seeped into the consciousness of almost everyone. Wow, we have this miracle now. We have antibiotics. And so people would go to the doctor actually with a sniffle over the next 40, 50, 60 years. Doc, you got to give me something for this. I've got a meeting coming up. You got to give me something for this. And the doctor knows it's likely a virus, but the patient's demanding something. So the doctor justifies it because if you give an antibiotic, it could prevent secondary infection. So, okay, here you go. Take this to the pharmacy and do this. So it just became an easy thing to do. On to the next patient. Lots of antibiotic use, very consistently. Then in agriculture, it kind of took off because they found out in agriculture, if you vaccinated all the animals with antibiotics, you could keep them alive for a couple of years till you butchered, but their meat is laced with that antibiotic. Start thinking about it. Antibiotic. Biotic is life. Anti-life. Where does that end up? It ends up in your gut. The gut is a very sensitive area, full of life, full of microbiome, and a lot of those bacteria and various things living inside our gut. There's almost as many, and arguably there could be as many or more various bacteria than there are cells in our own body. And so it's necessary. It keeps us alive. It makes certain nutrients. It actually helps feed the wall. It makes things to feed the actual wall of the gut, keep the gut healthy, keep everything moving along, there's certain things that are digested by them, like fibers and things that we can't digest, that they digest. But if you wipe them out, what happens? Then the opportunists take over, and many pathogens are fairly opportunistic. The virulent kinds of things like Candida is real opportunistic. It's everywhere. But the good bacteria in our biome keep it in check. It doesn't allow it to grow. But if you knock everything back, the opportunists come back. And the opportunists are not in favor of your well-being. They erode that wall of your gut. You no longer have that protection. You no longer have that food. You no longer have those things working for you. And now it's working the other way. In fact, Candida is one of those things that will signal your brain to eat more sugar because they want sugar. They want everything sweet. So you're eating sugar, but it's actually not even you that's wanting it. The very definition of a parasite. So these are the things that have happened to us, why we're declining in life expectancy, and nobody's dealing with it. Nobody's focusing on it. Nobody's looking at this picture. I mean, there's some holistic, we call it alternative medicine, but the reality is what we call alternative medicine has been around for thousands of years. The traditional medicines. The alternative is what happened about 80 to 100 years ago when we decided to go chemical because we could make more money. And that's when, on the heels of that became antibiotics and all of that, everything, the various drugs. And it became a huge industry, major industry, trillions of dollars, $5 trillion a year we spent. So is it going to change? It has to change from the grassroots. It has to change from us. We have to realize that we have to educate ourselves. And again, look at the blue zones. The blue zones didn't follow these patterns. The blue zones had things that were tradition, things that were part of their culture that they didn't change because it was just common sense not to, because it worked. They knew that their great grandparents lived, beyond 100 years and were really healthy, and they did this. So why change it? And they didn't change it. In the Mediterranean, there's 2 blue zones, and that's unique. That's why we've talked and discussed about Mediterranean diet. That's got to be the best diet in the world because, gosh, there's 2 blue zones there, the healthiest people on the planet. And yet you look at their diet and it's got a lot of weak points. It's not anything special, really, compared to other cultures, other parts of the globe. But what they do have, they have the olive botanicals, and they've been using them for thousands of years. And they utilize quite a bit of grape. And that's there. That you find that at every meal, whether grape clusters or in the wine. You find a lot of lycopene. You find a lot of tomatoes in every meal, and sauces and things like that made from tomatoes. So over these unique things, and they handle the olive very different than anywhere else in the world. Of course, they've grown up with it for thousands of years, and the olive tree lives thousands of years. The oldest one is somewhere, they estimate, between 4,000 to 5,000 years old. So the olive tree is able to pull from the earth things to help build things inside of itself to protect it and to keep it stronger and disease resistant and impart this strength like no other organism on the planet. And now we know what it is. It's these polyphenols. There's a whole list of various polyphenols that the olive tree produces. And in the high phenolic extra virgin olive oil, you find a lot of them. But in some aspects, other parts of the plant have more even of certain polyphenols. And one of those, the leaf, has certain polyphenols that's not particularly strong in the oil. So when you actually put it all together, the leaf, the high phenolic extra virgin olive oil, the seed, everything together, and that's what OLIABO has done. And they've called it olivectin. And that is a capsule that is inside of the flagship product called Prima. All of those olive botanicals are there. And then alongside of it, there's a couple of capsules of the high phenolic extra virgin olive oil. That's kind of foundational. There's a lot of discussion about that in the world today, and a lot of scientific attention, study after study after study. And you can delve into, go to PubMed and research high phenolic extra virgin olive oil against almost any disease, or scholar.google.com and seeing, hundreds of thousands of pages of studies. And what you find is cardiovascular disease and cancers and diabetes and Alzheimer's and neurodegenerative diseases, autoimmunity, all of these different things that we're finding are supported by these olive botanicals. But is it a miracle? No. The miracle is the human body. The human body was built to be amazingly able to adapt and compensate and balance itself and be well. But we've destroyed that foundation of our human body by over-farming our fields. Again, just like medicine turning chemical, agriculture turned chemical. They put into the plants what makes it grow faster and what makes it look good. But the nutrients every year are depleted from the soil. So that makes the plant weak. You know how the olive tree is so strong because it pulls something out of the soil that manufactures to protect itself? Our agricultural crops don't have a chance because the soil is literally dead. The biome has been destroyed, the nutrients have been pulled out, and the plant becomes weak. So what happens? It's attacked by insects and various diseases. So what do? They have to constantly spray it. And they came out with glyphosates. They came out with genetically modified grains and foods so that it held up with these powerful herbicides. Well, where do those powerful herbicides end up? They end up in our gut. So anytime you're giving the gut the assault, you've got antibiotics, anti-life going down there. You've got toxins. You've got all these processed foods, these bad oils and things going down into your gut. And on top of that, you've got these toxic herbicides that literally destroy and erode the gut lining. So now what do you get? Eventually you get a leaky gut. The gut's a sensitive membrane. It's designed to be semi-permeable, allowing the nutrients through that your body has digested and got down to a small enough size that it can actually go into the blood and actually be dealt with by the liver and actually be carried to cells, so you can supply your body with nutrients and energy and things like that. But if the gut becomes leaky, all those things you don't want in the blood can get through the barrier. Now what happens is the immune system has to attack it. And if you and I had to attack something 24/7, all the time, it just happens all the time, you'd wear out. And that's what happens. Those initial lines, those neutrophils, the eosinophils, leukocytes, lymphocytes, they run low. And you still get those things coming into the blood. It ends up signaling we need help. The T cell is activated. That's the adaptive immunity. That's where the body says, okay, we've got an issue here. We need to send the soldiers in and recognize what this is so we can be immune to it. Well, that works great if it's some strange bacteria or virus. it builds a template for it and it recognizes it. So now every time that you're exposed to that, boom, your body reacts to it. So you're immune to it. But what if it's dairy products? Or what if it's wheat? And that's in your blood and your body's reacting to it. That's allergy. But all of these antigen antibody complexes, the body's attacking, it's grabbing hold of these things, it goes to the liver. The liver is already overworking because it has anywhere between 300 to 500 known functions. You name the blood and the quality of it, the viscosity, the lipids, the sugars, the hormones, the enzymes, the various things in the blood, the liver handles it. The liver creates the things and functions to create and change and alter and keep it right. Keep the low density lipoprotein in check and get enough high density HDL that it's actually, dealing with the LDL. The liver is very sophisticated, but it only has so much capacity. If you're running things to it so much, it begins to get bogged down. And when it gets to bogged down, all those precursors it's making can't do it as well. And so this whole domino effect begins to happen. Then the autoimmunity thing can trigger because those first Th1, the T cells, the first generation, they're good at recognizing certain structures. But the second generation, once you tap into that, because you're just constantly on, aren't as good at recognizing it. And if they think that one of your body tissues looks similar to that, they might react to it, and that's autoimmunity. Autoimmunity is one of those diseases that's been surging over the past 30 years. So all of these mechanisms are happening, and it's spinning. In my opinion, it's spinning out of control because all we're doing is trying to manage the symptoms. But the reality is, it starts in the gut, then the liver moves into the blood, it affects the immune system, affects the brain, the heart, the kidneys. So what we need to do is look again at the blue zones. What the oligobotanicals do? What do they do? Well, they help protect the gut. They actually nourish the gut. And they actually are selective on the biome. They discourage the growth of the pathogens and support the growth of your own biome, which is brilliant because once the microbiome is knocked back, it's really hard to get it back with probiotics. A really good prebiotic like the oligobotanicals is kind of the way to go because it adjusts itself to you and works with you. And so that's kind of brilliant. Plus, a big issue in the world today with all of these oils and the various things that we do on a daily basis with the bad food and all of this is it creates oxidative reactions in our body. The oligobotanicals and the grapeseed extract and lycopene are very powerful antioxidants. In fact, hydroxytyrosol, one of the polyphenols, is a brilliant at donating an electron. It has this electron that it's ready to donate. So it's like, boom, it's an immediate antioxidant. And they help support normal inflammatory pathways. You see, inflammation is normal. It's there because if you get injured, if you get an assault, if you get trauma, if something happens, you need the inflammation to increase the blood flow, to bring in the leukocytes, lymphocytes, bring in all of those things to help the area to heal. But the mechanism comes with the ability to self-limit because those are built in. And the restorative mechanisms kick in and clean it up. And then the inflammation goes away because the area is cleaned up and restored. But what happens when you have a constant barrage is you end up with chronic inflammation. And chronic inflammation is a doorway to disease. And the oligobotanicals and the grapeseed extract and the lycopene and rosemary extract are brilliant at helping the body support the normal inflammatory process. And so what the result is, inflammation drops, C-reactive proteins drop, COX-1 and 2 are inhibited. All of these things are done by these polyphenols. Blood pressure tends to lower because the blood vessels relax and dilate. All of these things begin to take place because of the action of these polyphenols. But is it instant? No way. The body doesn't get disease instantly. If you're diagnosed with a disease, it's very likely that the dominoes begin to fall a couple of decades before that diagnosis. And you didn't know that was happening. One frame of reference I have on this is back in Vietnam, they did autopsies on the young guys that were killed anywhere from 18 to 24, and they all had cardiovascular disease, some quite advanced. Back then, when people were healthier and slimmer and more fit, and these were fit soldiers, they had cardiovascular disease, the beginnings of it. And if they had lived, they might have had a heart attack at age 50 and died. And people would have said, gosh, he was not sick a day in his life. And he's dead at age 50 because of a heart attack. That's because that cardiovascular disease was in there for decades, working and progressing slowly. That's the way it happens. So the way things reverse is the same way. And one huge issue in the world today is drugs have created this consciousness of instant effect, and drugs give an instant effect, but they tend to be, they don't work with the body. I call it a vector. Drug is amazing energy going one direction, but the body doesn't go one direction. The body balances. The body likes to say, this energy is going this way, let's pull it back a little this way, and let's keep this in balance and keep this in check, and it's brilliant at doing that. And when you introduce a vector into that situation, it becomes a little more difficult to balance all the other things. And a lot of people are on multiple meds, and that becomes really complicated for your body to do that. So ultimately, the paradigm needs to be is understanding how to best support the mechanisms in this body to properly restore itself foundationally. And that takes time. That doesn't happen overnight. In fact, these botanicals working in your system, 8 to 12 weeks before they're going to start turning mechanisms on to turn things around. 8 to 12 weeks. So I would never, ever sample someone a packet of OLIABO. You've just wasted it. Or even 7-day supply. You've just wasted it. Because that person's going to think, oh, I'll sample this and I'll see how I feel. In 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, not likely it's going to turn anything around unless there's a deficiency in that person. And this is loaded with nutrients, things like magnesium and iron and copper. And if somebody's deficient in one of those things, real deficient, they'll notice something, yeah. But to really turn mechanisms around, 8 to 12 weeks. So I let people know you've got to commit to 90 days. In 90 days, if you're honest with yourself, you look back and you'll realize I'm operating on a totally different level. And I feel that. I've been on this a little more than 90 days. And I'm a completely different person than I was before I started. But was I week 1 or week 2 or week 3? Not really. I was still kind of judging it, but like the idea of it, all of that. I like the antioxidant, and I like it's anti-inflammatory. I like that it supports this and that. I liked the idea of it. I stuck with it. But in like 3-4 months, I'm like, yes, this is the reason people in the Mediterranean area actually live a more centered, more joy-filled, better life with greater amount of ease. And I'm sorry I went on long, because we do have people waiting in the wings. We actually have a few people, and I'm going to bring the special guest on first. Ray Heron was the master distributor of the company years ago. He had 200,000 people in his organization, and he's the master distributor here for a reason. He's a really heart-centered, good guy, and I've really appreciated working with him. But Ray's on here, and I'm going to bring him on first. Ray, can you unmute yourself?
Can you hear me, Dr. Jerry?
I sure can.
I'm going to leave my camera off here tonight. I'm not looking my best. I couldn't get my hair just right,
I understand.
You're looking great. Dr. Jerry, you're such a wealth of knowledge. I'm sitting listening to you, and as I have many times. And I want to say to people, I could ask this question and I know what your answer would be. How many of you have gotten people started with Prima and they lasted maybe 3 weeks or a month, and they cancel their order and they say, well, it's not doing anything for me. Well, Dr. Jerry, I'll tell you what, having said the things that you always say on every one of your Zooms, it makes people realize, listen, things don't happen just like that. It takes a little while, but it makes people realize that, you know, this is such a great product. It's put together extremely well, and they're going to benefit for it for the rest of their life, but they just got to stay with it. That's all. And I would encourage those of you that are still bringing people in the business, and I hope that that's always. Dr. Jerry, maybe, people are funny. We're all funny. We don't have a half an hour. We do, but we think we don't. But Dr. Jerry does 5 days a week, a 10-minute, sometimes goes to 15, 10 to 15-minute call at noon uh, every day. Just his short introduction to Prima alone would cause people to stay with this for that 90 days, for a lifetime. So increase the odds of growing your business by exposing them to Dr. Jerry. He is a wealth of knowledge, and I appreciate you very much. Jerry, for me, uh, yeah, I think, I was a little bit unusual probably, but I got the product way back in, the fall of last year. And I have a large deck area in my home in northern Michigan, and every 2 years, without fail, I have to do an exterior brush stain on it to keep it looking nice. And I'm kind of a particular, so I do it on my hands and knees. I brush it. I don't roll it. I want it to look really nice. And I was up and down, you know, on my knees, standing up, hand brushing all this, and there's a lot of it. And I couldn't believe after a couple of days how flexible I was. And so fortunately for me, I could feel that flexibility. So it definitely happened for me. So that was my first indication that this is going to be really good for me. And I've been a sleep deprived guy my entire life. I don't know why, always. I mean, just real problem. 3 or 4 hours is about all the sleep I could ever expect to get in a night. And within a matter of a few days, I began to sleep 7 to 7.5 hours a night straight through. That had never happened for me. So obviously, flexibility, sleep, eyesight, my eyesight began to get better. I've got a lot of experience in years past with grapeseed extract, and I know that it has attention to do some great things for your eyes. So it was time for me to get a new prescription. I got my glasses adjusted. They wrote a new prescription, and in no time, I wasn't seeing as well as I was when they first put them together, and I knew why. I was getting some good results from the grapeseed extract that was in there. My digestion is perfect. I mean, no need to get into discussion about digestion, but hey, it's important to be healthy. And complexion. My skin has always been dry, and it's nice and moist. And I could go on forever, Dr. Jerry, about what all this product could do. But when Gordon first called me, I began to look into extra virgin olive oil. That's all I had to look at really at the time. Everything else was an idea. Things were being worked on in the lab, and I started studying extra virgin olive oil. And the things that I saw and the things that I read was unbelievable. Like you said, there's hundreds of thousands of studies. Pretty much covers everything from your vascular system to your GI tract to your brain, and that pretty much covers most of my body. And as I began to learn that alone, and then later on when we had our final product put together, I thought it would be a pure folly on my part not to depend on this for good health. It's the things when you read about the science and what it has to say only about extra virgin high phenolic uh, olive oil. When you begin to see that, knowing all of the additions that we have with the rest of our product line, when you know what's happening below your threshold of awareness, it would be pure folly not to take this product every day of your life. We uh, we have a unique find here at OLIABO. We're a good group of people. We care about people. It's real obvious. Dr. Jerry cares a great deal about the people that he works with, and that's true with everybody that I know in this company. We're going to be an absolute giant. So you're here at the right time. We still are first. And it's a great time for us to set our sights on Italy, and as many of us as possible, let's get there. Thank you, Dr. Jerry.
Thank you, Ray. Awesome. I appreciate that. By the way, my eye prescription also changed for the first time in my life. It always got worse, but it got better this time.
Yeah, mine too.
We have a few people here, so let's quickly bring on. How about Marilyn Cates? I was talking with her to kick the call off. And Marilyn, can you unmute yourself? Find that little microphone icon. Oh, are you there, Marilyn? Just speak up if you're able to unmute. I can only request you to unmute. I cannot do it for you, unfortunately, but I will request you to unmute. Ask to unmute. Maybe that will light it up for you.
There you go.
Awesome.
Can you hear me?
I can. Thank you, Marilyn.
My daughter is a genius.
Okay, good. Helps.
I'm 80 years old. And so she is all kinds of help for me, and I'm so thankful to have her here. I want you to know that I am very impressed with this product. Donna, a friend of mine who I've known for years, I was a clinician. Gave her colonics, and I gave massages. And she's been a dear friend to me to tell me about this, and I'm glad she did. First thing I used when she got the product to me was the Flex, and I had a problem with my knee. It was terrible. I couldn't even walk, and I sprayed that on once my knee, and the pain just seemed to go away. I was so impressed with it. And I've used it several times, and it's still, my daughter works at the hospital, and so she has some knee problems also. And she's used it. She's impressed with it. And the other day I asked her if she still was using the Flex I gave her. And she said, well, sometimes. I said, if you're not going to use it, just bring it back to me.
Right.
But she is very impressed with it. And I'm hoping to get her on the rest of the products. And thanks to Donna, I am very thankful to Donna, and also I've been using the oil, drinking the oil and the vitamins, and looking forward to my third month. This is the second month. I'm looking forward to the third one you was telling us about. I can hardly wait, because I'm 80 years old,
Yeah.
and I am my brain has gotten there. It's 80 years old, and 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 also I'm looking forward to getting some memory back, and all. But thank you for allowing me to speak tonight, Dr. Jerry. I appreciate it. I've enjoyed tonight, and
Thank you,
I'll
Marilyn.
try to listen in, learn more.
Oh, that's awesome. And it was a great testimony to really be so thankful to the person that told you. And everyone keep that in mind. Sometimes we feel like we don't want to bother people, but your life changed because of it. And I think that's what will happen to everyone eventually, because it gets better and better. And I tell you,
Yes.
my memory is improving all the time. It's great. Like I notice it. That's one of the big things I'm noticing.
I'm looking forward to my eyes getting better.
Yeah, there you go. Well, thank you,
Thank
Mary.
you. Yes,
Appreciate
sir.
that. Very good. We have Kathy Rivera here tonight, I believe. Penny, do you see Kathy?
Yeah, I'm right here. I'm right here, Jerry.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. I
Hey.
unmuted myself.
You're perfect. We can hear you.
Okay, well, let's see what I want to share. I think I've heard this topic brought up before. And I heard a couple, I think males that shared their improvement on blood pressure. So I'm going to share mine. I went to my primary care doctor yesterday for my follow-up. You know, they tell you everything that's going on with your blood work. So, when it comes to the blood pressure, I'm always worried about the numbers, you know,
Right.
what the numbers are going to be, you know. So, but yesterday they took my blood pressure, and sometimes they walk out and don't tell you what it is, you know. So I asked them, what's my numbers? And, and they told me that my numbers, and I was in disbelief, you know. I was in disbelief of 123/67, and I haven't been in those 120s in 5 years or more, you know.
Wow.
Because I've been in the 130s, and I think I once even heard 139 on me at the time, and so I just tell the doctor, well, what am I supposed to do to bring it down? He said, no, I just eat watch what you eat, you know. So I do all those things, you know. Anyway, so I was pleased to hear that number 123/67. And I've been taking the Prima for 1 month. So I'm very pleased to hear that. I'm gonna go buy my own pressure machine too. See what I come up with the next couple of months, you know.
That's awesome. By the way, that 67, that means your vessels are really healthy.
Oh, well, okay. You know, I'd like to share something else that I didn't share that with Penny. Thank you, Penny, for introducing me to OLIABO. But when I first got the flex, I've had this really dry skin on my eyebrows and forehead for the longest time. I had the doctor would give me some kind of medication. I go buy over the counter something, nothing worked. Anyway, flex. When I first got the flex, I washed my forehead. I put it on my eyebrows, around my forehead. For 1 week, it's all gone.
Wow.
All that dry skin gone, and I'm very pleased about that too. So
Wow.
that's what I have to share.
And we have the skin serum coming out now, the Viso Lux. That's going to be amazing. So great stuff, Kathy. Thank you. Much appreciated. We have, I'm going to go ahead and bring Monique Myrick on. She's a microbiologist. She is doing amazing things. She was brought in by Lady Flom, and that group is just crushing it. And Monique wants to introduce a lady here, Joyce Bueller, and I see Joyce up there. So Monique, if you want to come on and introduce Joyce. Joyce, you might want to find the unmute button there.
Thank you, Dr. Jerry, for making the love call to Liddy, who called me back last fall. And of course, I do my own due diligence once I'm introduced to something. And I had plenty of science, as you've mentioned, PubMed and scholar.google. And I just wanted, since we've got some new people, I wanted to mention the result that I had no idea. I was doing some biofeedback and found out that my brain was in an illness state. The rating goes from 1 to 6. My brain was all 6s, and my mentor for that biofeedback said people usually over 40 don't change. That does not change. But I was looking at a scan 3 weeks after I'd been on Prima and the olive oil. And I said, I think my brain changed. And she said, well, let's look at it. And when we looked at it, she had this long pause. She said, that's extraordinarily significant. I had a 30 to 50% improvement in my energy flow in my brain. And we have, God gets all the glory for making our bodies too healed when we give the foundational foods. And that's what we have with OLIABO. We've got jet fuel for our immune system. And so Joyce, I want to introduce Joyce, who is a sweet friend of many years. And she's been having some challenges, and I'm just going to let her tell her own story. Joyce?
Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I too am 80 years old. I'm going to be 81 in a couple months. And my husband in 2009 went to get an MRI with contrast. And 3 hours later, he looked like he'd had a massive stroke. So the doctors were confused because he didn't have a stroke. So they didn't know what to do. So they put him in an ambulance, sent us home with hospice because he couldn't do anything, stand, talk, walk, anything. And it was scary. They referred us, we were in Georgia at the time, I'm in Pennsylvania now. They referred us to Emory University to the head neurologist that teaches neurology and doesn't see regular patients, he takes difficult cases. So we had neighbors that got in a van, with the wheelchair. 6 months of going, we told them it was 3 hours after the MRI with contrast. No, can't be that, they're safe. If you have normal renal function, you pee it out, it's safe. They have changed that warning in 2018, by the way. They now say it's retained. So our lives changed. We lived in COVID lockdown before the word COVID existed, barely leaving the house. So I was his caregiver for about 12 years. And he passed away 3 years ago in February. And it was a long, slow goodbye. So my neighbors were astounded. Here I am in my 70s for 12 years, taking care of my husband. And I was fine, I had no problem. 1 week after his funeral, it hit. When I say it hit, I got out of bed and my shoulders were so hunched over, I couldn't even look in the mirror. And when I did look in the mirror, I can't make my eyes do it. My eyes would look like a zombie. Anyway, everything in my body I was a train wreck. I've had diarrhea for 3 years, had to wear diapers all the time. And also, my knees couldn't bend. I couldn't stand up. I was exhausted. I was in pain. Of course, I went to doctors. I went for help. Nobody knew what was wrong with me. Of course, if they do chiropractic, that would help. Whatever they do, that would help. And I've always taken good care of my health. I am proud to say I'm on 0 prescriptions. But God bless Monique, because I told her, okay, she's talking to me about extra virgin olive oil. Okay, I know that. Okay. I didn't get it. But I respect Monique, and she studies things more than I do. And I also have an extreme faith in God. And taking care of my husband, we were on our own. He had no diagnosis. He had symptoms of ataxia. So we were on our own. So my attitude was, if it's not going to hurt and it might help, and everybody's body's different, how do I know if I don't put it in his body or my body? So I did that. And so unlike Dr. Jerry was just talking, this has been literally a miracle for me, a miracle. and it worked fast in days. Let's see if I can even remember. I'm standing up straight. I was pretty much immobile. I couldn't get up from a seated position. And if I tried to walk, I had to hold on to something. And I do have a diagnosis of neuropathy, peripheral neuropathy, but it's idiopathic. That means it's not from cancer and it's not from diabetes or alcohol. So they don't know what it's from, but it could be from trauma. Well, not a doctor, but a woman who worked at a doctor's office, they had my history. She looked at me and said, "You were in fight or flight for 12 years. Boom. I thought, she's right. I understood what she was saying. And so we've all heard about PTSD. Trauma can cause neuropathy, like a car wreck, but soldiers get PTSD. So I believe that my idiopathic neuropathy was from PTSD. So pain, all the things of neuropathy, you can't sleep at night for the pain. Nothing touches the pain. Burning, tingling, numbness. Sometimes you can't feel your feet. It's exhausting. It's stressful. I said to myself, well, you are 80 years old, just because you were healthy before. And honest to God, everything just started getting better. I'm on this call and I have not been able to stay up past 8 p.m. for all these years. I said, well, that was just the habit my husband and I had. I guess that's just my body clock. No, I just couldn't. I just crashed. Okay. And so here I am. I have energy. Let's see, I'm trying to think what I have mobility. Oh, I'm getting my life back. I can go outside and take a little walk. That was like a dream. I couldn't drive the car for more than 30 minutes to go on an appointment because if I sat, my knees would lock and I could barely get out of the car. I drove for an hour yesterday. I know that doesn't excite most people, but everything's exciting me. So anyway, I do want to mention this too. It might apply to some people. A couple of strange things had happened right before I started this. I lost my appetite. I mean, literally, there'd be food in front of me and I just didn't want to, I couldn't eat it. I had no appetite. My weight got down to 113 pounds. I lost a few pounds. And the other thing that happened was I couldn't swallow. So I look up everything on my smartphone. Well, those are autonomic functions. And so there is such a thing as autonomic neuropathy. So anyway, if you know anything about neuropathy, it's pretty bleak. There is no cure, except for me, Prima. And wow. I am so grateful to God. I give him the glory because it's the human body that he created that's designed to heal itself if we put the right things in it. And the only way I know to thank him, all we leave behind when we die is the people we touch. And I want to touch people's lives. I want to be his instrument to do his will because I'm in so many support groups because of my husband and all over the years. And it breaks my heart, all the people that are suffering with so many things and there's no answers. And this, it didn't take, it's been a month now. I will confess, the first week I just took one a day. But Liddy told me that she gave her father 2 a day. Well, I thought, I'm in bad shape. I'm going to take 2 a day. So for the last 3 weeks, I've taken 2 a day. But it was working before that. And I have people tell me I have a glow, but I have it on the outside as well as the inside. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate it.
Wow, that's a great story. That is fantastic. Thank
It's
you.
a miracle. It's a miracle.
It's a miracle.
But God made the body, and it is his miracle that he created.
Absolutely, that's true, Joyce. I'll give you that one for sure. Well, thank you so much, Joyce. That was absolutely beautiful. There was one other person, Coco Roberts. Maybe Coco, if you can be available next week. We've gone almost an hour, and that's just a hard line I'm not willing to cross. So I want to wrap this up, but I want to comment on Joyce's situation. One of the things that the nervous system does need, and one of the things the liver does, is it manufactures these lipids, these phospholipids that are part of the membrane that surrounds our peripheral nerves and helps surround the neurons. And actually the brain is composed of these kinds of lipids. And so if we starve the body and give it fake fat and these bad fats, what happens is you get degeneration, you get inflammation, you get degeneration, you don't have the raw materials to build a healthy system. So it's just a guarantee that these degeneration will start. And so the brilliance was that this very pure, it's very hard to find, first press extra virgin olive oil, first 12 hours. That's where the real goodness is. And when you pair it up with all the other olive botanicals, with the grapeseed extract and lycopene and rosemary extract, all working together, yeah, it appears miraculous, because once the body has what it needs and can do what it was built to do, it can create the miracle. And I call it the miracle within. So that's what we have, and we have a great gift. We just need to understand what we have, understand the significance, understand how it works, and don't think that, if it doesn't do these remarkable things for you in the first week, that it's not working. Because in many ways, the body changes very slowly as it heals and as it adapts and as it changes. Because if it's in a cycle of degeneration for several decades, even to stop that is absolutely brilliant. But what we have, I believe, will allow us to live longer lives with less disease and really more heart, more joy. Because if you're not worried about all of these things that trouble us, and various disease and aches and pains and forgetfulness and all of these things that pester us, life becomes ease rather than dis-ease. And that's ultimately what we have. And that's worth millions of dollars. That is so worth it. And one of your friends might be taking a dozen different supplements and say, oh, I don't want to add anything else. I was taking about a dozen different supplements, and I started eliminating them once the Prima began affecting me the way it is, just to see. And I pretty much eliminated everything except the Prima now. So I've got all these supplements sitting on my shelf that I'm not using. So it's actually saving me lots of money. And I see that.
Jerry, I don't want to interrupt you, but I do want to add, for the last 15 years, I've been taking a Nerf 2 Synergizer for 15 years per tandem. And this is a Nerf 2 Synergizer. And there's nothing like Prima. Nothing.
I feel that way too. Thank you, Joyce. That's awesome. Well, you heard it, folks. We've been on here a whole hour, and most everyone stayed. And thank you so much, and we appreciate your time. I usually try to wrap this up, within 30 to 40 minutes, but I think tonight was a special night, and I really appreciate you hanging in there with us. And just remember, we have something truly special, and it is a gift. And if you talk with someone about it, you're literally offering them a gift of life. So thank you so much for being here. And we'll be back again tomorrow morning with the Wednesday quick look call that Ray talked about. And he mentioned the noon time, but that's Eastern time, noon Eastern, so 9 a.m. Pacific. And if you don't have that number, someone who referred you here, they likely have it. But there's a great website hosted by Judy Womack, and all the recordings of the quick look call are there. She's amazing that she does a lot of work on that site. And that site is excitedtoshare.com. And I'm truly excited to share this. And I'm excited to be here with all of you. So thank you. excitedtoshare.com. Thank you so much. Have a great night. We appreciate and love all of you. So thank you so much. Bye for now.
Thank you, Dr. Jerry.
Thank you, Dr. Jerry. Thank you, everybody's testimonials.
Thank you for all the great testimonials.
Thank you, Dr. Jerry.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Great meeting.
Thanks. Good night.
Okay, thank you. Have a
Thank
great
you,
night.
Dr. Jerry.
Thanks so much, Dr. Jerry.
Thank you so much.
All
Have a
right.
great-
Appreciate you. We appreciate you. Bye-bye.
Great call.
Bye-bye. Bye for